Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Welcome, everyone, to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 304, and I'm excited about having today's guest on. I interviewed him on the Launch Your Live podcast that I run, and we talked about storytelling. Always love talking with him. Actually, I more prefer to talk to him because we love talking about gear and equipment and all that fun stuff. But guess what? We're not talking about that today. We're going to be talking about social media news. There's quite a bit of it this week, but I'm going to go and bring on Sarah Monroe, and we're going to kick things off because we've got quite a few topics that we want to talk about, but we want to make sure we spend enough time with our guest, James Hicks. So Sarah, fantastic having you back. And so how you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing great. How are you?
It's doing fantastic.
It is. We are melting in the Northeast this week, but it sort of complements the hot topic of storytelling and some of the news that we have this week. So it's great to welcome James Hicks. He is the engineering technologist at Hicks New Media. He's also into digital publishing and tech consulting, and he's a great storyteller. And like you said, Christian, he's an old friend. And new friend to me, old friend to you, and we can welcome on James.
James, thanks a lot for joining us.
What is going on, you guys? Huh? What is it? Thursday morning, and we are talking social media. I love it.
Yep. Every Thursday.
I got to say, I got quite a kick out of we were talking with James beforehand, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and James is like sitting. That's how much on top of things he is. 4 o'clock in the morning, he was answering some questions I had sent him for today's show. So
James, that's just a problem because I never sleep, right?
Yeah.
So I'm up rearranging the studio, answering social media posts and things like that. It's a problem that I have. It is a problem.
So how many hours of sleep do you usually get a night? Is it 3 to 4? Is it 6? Do you
I decline to comment so my wife doesn't hear exactly when I do sneak out of the bed, but no, it's
okay.
about 4 to 5 hours, right? Just because the mind just never seems to stop. There's always something going on, right? So I use all 24 hours as much as possible.
But here's the thing, that's key. You should do that. Again, there are people that I've got friends that they say, hey, they go to bed at 7, 8 o'clock at night, but they get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and so they still get that time in.
Yeah. Sarah,
was that Sarah? Yeah. Are you that person? Or are you guilty? It's okay. By the way, I wasn't calling Sarah out there. But here's the thing. It's about what works for your schedule and trying to maximize that time. Because guess what? We all get the same amount of time in our day. And so you're probably wondering, well, how do people find the time to do this? And some of it comes down to planning. Some of it comes down to, for example, we're going to talk about this in a bit, storytelling. Because if you're a master storyteller, that's gonna, you don't have to put out so much content that people are always tuned into what you're doing. People actually, it's almost like I use the celebrity example here. And I like to tell people, when you're talking about when a celebrity's got a movie coming out, they're not talking about it, 24/7 throughout the year. They're not always being on their social channels, sharing things. They drop things in small doses. They come out, they go on a talk show. They go on a few talk shows when a movie's coming out, and then the movie comes out, great fanfare, and then they move on to the next thing. They're not, constantly oh, hey, I got to make something today. So
that's a good point.
All that working up front.
Yeah, that's actually kind of in line with the tagline for my blog, right? Timely, relevant news of the day, right? So instead of just out there with a whole bunch of stuff. Try to have more quality in terms of instead of just quantity when you're pushing messages out there. So I like how you explained it as well.
So Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's kick things off. I think we said we're talking TikTok, right?
We are talking TikTok. That is the top story of the week. And TikTok is starting stories. Why? It's the biggest question, I think, with this. It's really, so I have to say, what's really interesting is that this is the first time we've seen TikTok copy some other platforms. So TikTok stories are being tested. It sounds like it's very quiet, a handful of people. Looks like most of the tests that we've seen on Twitter are on Android devices. So they're testing these short, ephemeral posts that we are so used to, a la Snapchat, right? Remember when Instagram tried to go head to head with Snapchat with stories, and then of course Facebook followed, and LinkedIn followed, and YouTube followed, and even Pinterest is following with stories now too, and now we have TikTok. So what the stories will be, pretty much standard what we're used to seeing. Videos, short videos, stickers, sounds, effects, stills, all the little tweaks and fun things that you can have with TikTok is going to be part of these stories. What's different, so here's what's different, is that public comments will be public, and the public can view the counts of how many views there have been. So it looks like TikTok is going to add to their videos. They also have duets and Stitch and Live and all the other kinds of things. I think it was just a few weeks ago, Christian, that we talked about TikTok Live happening, or at least expanding. They've been doing TikTok Live since about January and have now expanded those opportunities to go live on TikTok. So it's really interesting. TikTok is imitating the others. So
all right, which one of you, who has a TikTok account?
I don't.
I should have asked that question first. Yeah. Like I was like, no, I was like, I know I don't have one. I was like, Sarah, I know you probably don't have one. I was like, James, I don't think you have one either.
No. So here's the deal, right? I fired one up a couple of weeks ago, and it is insane on TikTok. There's tons of activity. There's tons of engagement. It's not just all the dances that you hear about, but that is a good portion of it. I fired it up really to have another place to send micro content. So after doing like a stream, I'll cut it up, and instead of just sitting it on Instagram, now I've been pushing content to TikTok as well. There have been more engagement on TikTok than any other micro social platform in the past couple of weeks, just by sending out those quick 2-3 minute clips. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So can you walk us through that process? Like, what do you do right now? Like, what are you doing to repurpose, kind of give like maybe an example, and then, and we'll talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah. So I'm actually in the middle of rearranging my workflow, looking at transcribing all of the content. So all the videos, typically when I stream, I'll shoot it in 4K and I'll pull that down and maybe put it into something like Final Cut Pro and chop that up into very short 2 to 3 minute bite-sized pieces, right? From a video perspective, and then put it out on either Instagram or put it out on TikTok as well. I do like the fact that with TikTok, it has a desktop uploader. So as opposed to having to put it through a whole nother process and just go through like the Instagram and the Facebook processes, you can actually directly upload from your desktop. But transcribing things, turning content into audiograms using tools. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about it today. Headliner is a incredibly powerful tool that I use every single day. Descript is a phenomenal tool. There's another tool that's called Pictory, which is another AI algorithmic application and platform that again will actually take all of the context out of all of your video, turn that into bite-sized pieces, consumable pieces as well. So I'm using a lot of AI tools that will actually grab out specific pieces of audio and video content, turning those into audiograms, turning those into what I'm calling clips and highlights on my YouTube channel as well. So, and it's working quite well. I'm seeing the engagement, I'm seeing the activity actually tick up with those smaller, more consumable bits, as opposed to typically the streams that I'll put out are like an hour long, right? So no one has time to really sit around and watch an hour again on the replay squad, right? So they'll watch that quick 5-10 minute shorter highlight or clip that I'll put out on YouTube.
Very cool. Right. And what I'm seeing though is a lot of TikTok creators are going to YouTube. YouTube Shorts, if anybody hasn't paid attention, YouTube changed their logo to their Shorts logo this week. Really interesting with that. But I'm wondering about this ephemeral content, this content that comes and goes with the stories. especially since we're seeing TikTok creators now going to YouTube because their people want to see longer content from them. So they're going and creating 15-minute and 38-minute videos. I waste a lot of time on YouTube. And I have to say, I found some great comedians, some female comics who got their start on TikTok and are now going to YouTube. And YouTube is throwing a lot of money at shorts. So these TikTok creators potentially are going to get a lot of money from YouTube too for those shorts as well. But I'm really wondering, I think everybody, especially small business owners, is like, I spend all this time on stories and then they disappear. All that work, poof, of course you can download them, right? And you can use them now for Reels, which will stay around for a while. But Twitter gave up. Twitter had fleets for 3 months, I want to say.
I don't think anybody got it, actually.
No, I don't know if anyone really used fleets. That was a problem. And Twitter's still trying to figure out who they want to be now that they are grown up. Right. So they're talking about doing some actual monetization for the actual platform itself. And I may be one of the persons that will actually pay the $2.99 a month for a paid version of Twitter. We can go into that whole tangent if you want as well. But I agree completely with you, Sarah. Right. The disappearing aspects of stories is very interesting. I wouldn't use that constantly. I would use that to promote a specific, like this stream right now, right? A live. Get on TikTok, tell everyone to come to the channel because we're live now on social chatter, and then let that go away, as opposed to that continuing to be within my role or within my newsfeed, that kind of thing. So I see uses for specific types of delivery mechanisms, right? And I think that makes sense. And as long as creators use it the right way, as opposed to, again, trying to put everything on Instagram Reels, everything on Twitter Spaces, everything on TikTok Stories, right? You can't do that, right? Focus in on what resonates with you and your message in your community, or else folks will end up going away.
Right. Well, even, the platform that got us all started on this, Snapchat, has evolved too, right? Snapchat is now calling themselves more of a camera company, a photo company. And in fact, the teenager in my life said to me over the weekend, hey, Snapchat is number 4 in the App Store right now. The Apple App Store, Snapchat is the 4th most downloaded application. And what she told me is that her friends at school are using it as cameras, right? They're not using their phone cameras. They're using Snapchat instead.
All the pretty filters and all, all that stuff,
Yep.
I need as many filters as I can. I've got LUTs on and everything. You have no idea. It's terrible.
I have to say, so this is my first show with the Camo app. And I have to say, I'm loving it. It's some of the filters that I put, some of the adjustments and things that I made didn't quite come into StreamYard. So I had to do a couple more adjustments, but it's a huge difference. I don't need to travel with a bunch of lights now. And it's the software applications now that we can use with minimal equipment is awesome.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. That's a great product, a great platform, and you're using your phone, right? You're probably using your iPhone, right? That's good stuff.
I'm using my iPhone. So which in some cases is a little bit better than my camera, my DSLR. So
I gotta say, I mean, you're when you get the optimal lighting, like using the re-incubate Camo app that you're using, Sarah, like it will rival the mirrorless DSLR, for example, that I'm using. And James, I think you're using mirrorless, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm Sony all the way. I got my A6400 going right now, and I got my ZVE10 on pre-order. Hopefully, it'll be here in a couple of weeks. We'll see.
Very cool.
Nice. I have to say, my Zoom calls and Microsoft Team meetings yesterday were awesome.
And people were probably like, "What camera are you using?" Right, Sarah? Was that what
I'm using? An iPhone 12.
Yeah, exactly. And so the great thing is that as you mentioned, like. So TikTok's got stories. They're rolling out, they're testing this out. Some people are getting it. Most people are not getting it, but they're, very similar to how stories function across most of the other platforms. Again, kind of going back to like what you're both saying, like Snapchat, for example, people aren't using it as much for the content. They're using it more for the camera aspect. So I think it's gonna be really interesting to see the direction that TikTok's going with this. I'm actually wondering, like, do you all think at some point would they make a play for YouTube? Because, you got YouTube that is, YouTube is the platform where people go to watch videos, right? They go to watch videos on YouTube. YouTube now has YouTube Shorts, which are shorter form pieces linking back likely to your longer form videos. TikTok though is basically the complete opposite of that, which is, you've got people making short videos and then stories potentially that would link back to those videos. Do you think they'd maybe say, hey, we're just going to open it up and just, let people do videos just like they can on YouTube? What do you think?
That's I'll let you go, Sarah, first.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they may stick like Reddit. Reddit knows their lane and knows what their audience wants. Our attention spans just keep getting shorter.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I think when we talk about TikTok too, there is a place to really connect with younger audiences. And I think the short content is just going to keep appealing to younger audiences, and the older folks will stay away. That's why younger audiences keep moving away from apps. Right. They moved away from Instagram. They moved away from Facebook. They move away from everything because their grandparents show up. Right.
That's exactly right.
So there's that. And it's a place where those who want to talk to younger folks can really have a stage. Like, I know there's a lot of health educators that are doing amazing work right now on TikTok and dispelling myths and quelling rumors and really giving them education that they may not be getting at home or at school.
And I think that's a smart thing. And they're doing the same thing for like finance. I know there's a lot of people talking like personal finance on there, trying to get people to understand, things again, that they're not being taught in school, or things that they, they're being taught, but not in a normal life setting, for example. So I do like that they're doing that. I mean, it would be great to see more educators doing that kind of content. Again, though, they do have to teach the students. So they got to find time to, going back to what Mel just said a minute ago, she said, that's why when you see an IG story from her, it's basic. She doesn't have the time for that hoot nanny. And it's the same thing. If I'm a teacher, for example, I'm grading papers. My goal, my job is to teach the students. I guess if that means creating short form content, great. But again, it's a balance. It's about finding a balance there.
Yeah. I look at it as meeting your audience where they are as well, right? So again, kind of Sarah, like you were saying, the youngsters are now on these particular types of platforms like a TikTok. I don't think YouTube and Google will ever go away. They're the top 1 and 2 search engines on the planet, right? So I really see them continuing to flourish, continuing to evolve and come up with new features and functionality. But I don't think anything in the short or midterm is going to replace YouTube and Google.
No, you can't go up against the Google machine.
That's it.
Very true, actually.
That's for sure. So,
okay. So Sarah, where do we go next?
Next, let's go back to Twitter Spaces. We've spent a bunch of time. We spent some time last week. We spent some time. I looked up the episode number, episode 290. We actually tested Twitter Spaces, but Twitter Spaces is once again adding. And I love having James here, because hang on for us to talk about the tool of the week, because this is going to be a way for you to repurpose this audio content. So Twitter is allowing you to have co-hosts. So now a Twitter space can have one host, 2 co-hosts, and up to 10 speakers. And your co-hosts will be able to invite speakers up to the stage, manage requests, remove participants if you need to do that, pin tweets, and just help manage it. I think that's one thing that is difficult when you get a big room going. If anybody's been in a big clubhouse room, you know that it can get out of hand. So having those co-hosts is really helpful. And we talked about last week, actually, participants being able to tweet within the spaces. Is going to be great to have a co-host to help you, because if you're managing folks, to have people pin tweets and things like that will be really helpful to keep the conversation and engagement going. So it's a pretty awesome feature. While we're on that, Christian, let's just move right through all of the enhancements that Twitter made to Twitter Spaces this week.
Sure.
There's going to be a raise hand option too. So only speakers and co-hosts can raise their hand. So this will be a visual cue, a little emoji that will show up, and the user, so the person who raises their hand, can control it. So rather than interrupting, here on Social Chatter, we interrupt each other, but we love the banter. So with audio only, though, it's a little harder. You don't want to feel like you're talking over people. So this gives the visual cue for that. And the user can remove it. So if the topic has changed and they don't want to jump back in, they can take it off. Or when they unmute themselves, the hand goes down. There's going to be a voice transformer too.
That sounds cool.
It sounds really cool. They're talking about it as more of an entertainment value to it. But when we're talking, we just talked about the Camo app, right? This is a way for you to modulate. Maybe someone's microphone isn't working great and you don't have a big mixing board, or you are traveling and you don't have your great mic with you. This is a terrific way to modulate some of that. So, and it's funny, I was reading in social media today, and I have to say, it was depressing and entertaining at the same time. They said, this entertainment value that can come to audio rooms will actually be helpful when we're facing more pandemic lockdowns and things like that. So, a bummer, but a good thing at the same time. So, so that's what's happening in Twitter Spaces. And I have to say, we've tested this. If you go back into Social Chatter, episode 290, we actually tested it live. It's a lot of fun, I have to say. It's still mobile only. It's only on your mobile device. So you can't quite get your, those of us here have better mics and better setups. So your audio can be a little funky if you don't have good tools with your phone.
Very cool. So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but don't you think that makes the fact that Twitter Spaces is mobile only almost makes it more appealing? So I've talked about Clubhouse and I've talked about the Spotify option as well, and just a whole re-emergence of audio social communities, right? And how powerful it's been. It's oldest form of communication, and you don't have to worry about what do you look like on camera. You don't have to worry about lighting and all that other stuff. You just have a conversation with folks, and I think that's really why Clubhouse kind of blossomed and blew up, and then they tried to make it bougie by having it beta and only iOS, right? That's one thing, but so many of us from a social networking perspective really started to build our audiences on Twitter. Right. So we have X number of followers and people that listen to or follow our content on that platform. So it just makes sense to have that. And I really like the fact that audio communication and social media is taking off, and people are leaning towards that now more. So I actually don't have a problem with it being just audio and no video.
I've said it before too, is radio has been around for more than 100 years. And there's a reason why it still sticks here. I'm a huge public radio listener, but now I am in different places too, different states. So I don't have my home public radio station, but I can stream now, right? So I love being able to interact or hear some of my favorite creators just like their own radio talk show.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes they brought me up to the stage. I was just flabbergasted one day when I was brought up in Clubhouse. So I think it's really good. And Facebook, I'm still excited. My Facebook groups haven't started audio rooms yet. I don't know if it just hasn't rolled out to the admins yet, but I'm really looking forward to audio rooms in some of the Facebook groups that I'm in, because I'm in some hilarious marketing venting groups where we just sort of say, this is my bad day. How was your bad day? And have a good time, just sort of commiserating with each other.
I gotta say, this is, I like the idea of I like all the features Twitter Spaces is rolling out. I think these are going to be especially useful for people. Again, hardest part is going to be getting people back to Twitter. So, for the longest time, people have always looked at Twitter as it's spam for the most part, but it can be useful. And the thing is, you got to work it. And so it's not about and I say this every week practically. I mean, it's not about being on every single social media platform. It's about, yes, you may have a presence or you may have claimed your usernames on those platforms. However, you don't have to be active on every single one of them.
Good
you need
point.
to put your effort into the one where you're going to drive the most engagement. Going back to what James, I think you said a minute ago, which was go to where your audience is at.
Right.
So for example, if you're a teacher and you're trying to reach students, TikTok is probably where they're at. So you may need to learn that, maybe to get some, include that in the course curriculum, for example, to keep them engaged. So for example, if you're looking to get into, Twitter Spaces audio, which I love the idea of it. I love how easy it is to use. And I love that they're adding these very useful features to make it functional for users. Then you need to train your audience to go there. So for example, don't take the same piece of content and like put it on every single channel, repurpose it. So I might put one item, for example, like maybe I have it over on Twitter Spaces. And then let's say there is for people that like the video aspect, say there is a recorded aspect, like you can do a video recording at the same time that you're doing your audio on Twitter Spaces. So for example, like we could be doing this right now, I think potentially over to Twitter Spaces. And so therefore, if somebody's listening to the audio, we could say, you know what, if you want to watch the actual interview, see some, cool like things that we showed on screen, head over to the YouTube channel or the blog post or wherever that is. So
I might push back on that using TikTok in curriculum because teachers have.
I mean,
I was going to chime in because you said that and it stuck in my brain and I was like, I cannot see TikTok on the syllabus, right?
Yeah, no.
Welcome to school. Download TikTok and then we'll start talking about history. But
exactly,
probably where we are though.
But it's a way to grab attention, right? I think of the math teachers who are doing YouTube shorts, chemistry teachers. I was mostly talking about health educators. There's a lot of health educators, OBGYNs who are doing a lot of education and helping young people understand what's really happening. And I think that's a good thing. What we don't know is unless you have school age kids, what's going on Blackboard and the other tools that teachers are using, because I have friends who they teach at a college level and they are basically producing YouTube shorts within their curriculum because there's only so much you can stare at a screen and absorb, right? So they're breaking up their longer lectures into shorter bite-sized pieces and explaining different concepts so that it's easier for students. More work on the teacher part, but a great educational tool on the other end. So, and then they can make it fun on TikTok too. So
I was gonna say, I've got two kids. I got one a senior in high school and one that's in college. And last year I saw more educators learning OBS. Right. And adding in different types of video content creation capabilities so that so they can meet the students. And just like you were saying, Sarah, I see more teachers that are actually using YouTube shorts, that are actually posting content on an Instagram group or whatever the case may be, again, for their students, because that's where they are. They've already got the phone in front of their face 24 hours a day anyway. So why not, again, meet them where they are with that device on their hand. So. Yeah. Right.
And Christian just put up the ticker for StreamYard too. This is a great tool to use to have other people talking as a panel and make it more engaging, package it up, and post it up onto Blackboard or whatever, Google Classroom, whatever else you're using. So
one last thought I want to add real quick before we switch to the next topic, actually. And that's the fact that, maybe at some point, maybe teachers actually will need, or maybe the school will need, a social media manager essentially for every teacher, or maybe that will become the role of the TA, for example, in the class, to, be responsible for capturing some of those moments, repurposing them, for example, or, I think eventually, James, I probably know where you're going to go with this, but I think at some point you'll have and maybe it's already there. You'll have cameras in classrooms, where it is actually recording the classroom and then you're able to actually, repurpose that video, for example. So it's kind of unobtrusive a bit.
Dude, it's happening right now. It literally is. My daughter is the instructor or the TA is filming the course and putting it on demand for students to catch it. No one, class may start at 9:30. No one's going to show up at 9:30, right? They're going to watch it during the allocated time that they have before the quiz or the test or the lesson, the next lesson. So it's all on demand content, Vimeo, YouTube, all these cloud storage locations, Google Classroom, like you're saying. So yeah, you're absolutely right, man. That future is now. We don't have to wait for that one. Yeah.
So
Fantastic. Great. So Sarah, where do we want to go next? Do you want to talk about LinkedIn? Where do you want to talk about?
Let's sure, we can talk about LinkedIn, and then we have just one quick news item from Instagram too. So LinkedIn video meeting. So this is real. You have to ask, what did Microsoft acquire for all of these video tools that have come into LinkedIn, right? So what they're doing is giving the opportunity to have these one-on-one video meetings through LinkedIn. So you don't have to go through the messaging. Hey, it's great to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Let's try to talk sometime. You can just say, let's meet, right? Send the Zoom link, all those kinds of things. You can just meet right in LinkedIn video meeting. So it's a quiet rollout, much like most LinkedIn announcements and new features. Yeah. So I can't remember if it's on Android and iOS right now, but it is rolling out just this week. And it's an interesting new feature to add to all of the video that LinkedIn is bringing in with their profile videos, their cover videos, their live videos. Now they have meeting. So it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
And so to get this, by the way, all you have to do is, I seriously thought about this being like the main topic for the week, because I got to say, I love this whole idea that LinkedIn's finally doing this. I actually think you might even see this roll into Microsoft Teams at some point, or maybe there's a Teams integration, because LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. But to get this, simply update your LinkedIn mobile app, and then it's in the messaging feature. So it's in the chat feature, and then you're going to see that option that says create video meeting. You might even get recommendations from LinkedIn to create a video meeting if you're just having a chat with somebody. So again, very useful feature. Also, again, they also have been working with third-party video tools for some time, for example, and so this is just, again, further bringing that whole native experience into LinkedIn. So what do you all think about this? James, what do you think about LinkedIn video meetings?
Look, this is job recruiters all day, right? You turned in your application for a position. This is just a way now to engage and interact with someone. No, since we can't go meet anyone face to face anymore, right? You can actually have that type of a conversation. LinkedIn has a ton of engagement as well, right? So if you were streaming live right now on LinkedIn, everyone in your circle, everyone you're connected to, would get a notification. So that would entice people to come and watch the show, watch the stream, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, that's pretty positive. That's pretty interesting compared to some of the other platforms out there as well, right? LinkedIn is newer into the arena of video content live streaming, right? There's still some gotchas and some issues with it working right sometime, depending on which multicasting platform that you're utilizing, right? I've never had problems with StreamYard. I'll put that out there. Oh, look, a little plug for StreamYard. I don't know about the other one, but yeah. but again, right. So they're doing all of that aspect as well. The fact that you mentioned about Teams being a part of the organization as well. I did see a notification that Teams is starting to roll out some more video conferencing and more collaboration types of activities, and you can guarantee that there'll be some back end connection into the LinkedIn platform as well. So I love it. Right. I think this is just good, especially from a business perspective, just staying in contact with your network, and the fact that, again, as soon as you go live on LinkedIn, your entire connection network gets notified if you want them to. So
yeah, Teams has done a lot. Pre-pandemic, they had a lot of planning tools and meeting tools and file sharing tools, sort of like a kind of want to say an Airtable, Asana, Basecamp, Zoom, all put in together. I find that their video conferencing is a little clunky. It crashes my system. So every time I have to do a Teams meeting, I basically have to restart afterward. And it does look different, though. The Teams video conferencing looks different than what the this LinkedIn messaging. The LinkedIn video meeting looks more like, to me, more like FaceTime.
Okay.
I haven't really used much of the Facebook video app, the video component to Messenger. But I imagine it looks kind of the same, where you're a little smaller and the other person's a little bigger. So, yeah, but I think it's certainly a time saver for people who want, like a recruiter who needs to just knock through a list of pre-interviews and could just do it right through LinkedIn Messenger.
I gotta say, I like the idea of this. I mean, there's so many positives to this. The fact that it's owned by Microsoft, so that's I think is a big thing. I think the other side to it that I really like is is what you all were saying a minute ago. The whole recruitment aspect. So if you're talking with somebody, it's now they've got the ability to put up you can put up like a video profile. You can, if you're doing live video, for example, and streaming to LinkedIn Live, it shows up in the banner, for example.
That's pretty
now
cool.
I can have
it's really cool.
a video call feature with somebody. It would even, I mean, heck, I'd even almost, if I were even Microsoft here, I'd even take this a step further. And I would say, if somebody sends me a connection request, maybe they have to do, a quick, maybe it's a 5-minute introduction or something like that with me over video before, for example, I would even accept their, maybe I accept their connection request after the fact versus, okay, I really don't know who this person is, because then I have to actually do the digging versus, hey, I can just have a quick call with this person, see what they're, see if they actually, might be somebody I want to work with and so forth. So
that's a great use for it, because I'm a little picky too with who I link with as well.
See, well, Christian's fancy like that, right? Make you do a video before we connect. That's okay, brother. Okay, I'm glad we're already connected.
I mean, again, so
yeah,
got to work for it.
Connected. My goodness. Start charging people, right? Little buy me a coffee, and then go over to LinkedIn video before we connect. Okay,
or you'll have to do a Cameo, maybe. Cameo. Actually, that would actually be interesting if LinkedIn bought Cameo at some point.
Yeah,
or they had a feature where you had to have some like well-known author or person on LinkedIn could give you a personalized video.
I got to say, I don't know if you have friends at Salesforce, but Salesforce has been hiring celebrities to do these Cameo introductions or Cameo videos to encourage Salesforce employees to take their trainings or to congratulate them on anniversaries and things like that. I don't know what kind of AI they've done, because I can't imagine that James Corden has recorded the thousands of greetings it says your name too. It says something, hey, Christian, you did a great job with this, blah, 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 blah.
So
or happy anniversary.
Well, look, I got Samuel L. Jackson on my Google Home. So, right. He's my voice on my, I had Issa Rae first, and then there was Samuel L. Jackson. So, I mean, every time I call out Alexa, I don't want her to wake up over. Yeah, whichever one it is. One of them, I got Samuel L. Jackson talking, and it's the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I got to say, I could see that being very useful as well if they got Gary Cole or Bill Lumberg from Office Space, coming through with the whole TPS report and fun stuff.
I need you to go down to the basement. What?
So
awesome.
All right, we're straying afield here.
Yes.
Okay. So we bring me on your show. You never know what's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
Dude, I'll take you down a rabbit hole.
So we talked about LinkedIn Live video messaging, or sorry, LinkedIn video meetings. Sorry, got it. So many products to keep track of nowadays. LinkedIn video meetings, again, natively within the LinkedIn platform. To get these, all you have to do is download the LinkedIn app, and they'll be available on the messaging features. So they're not going to be just right now. They're not just available in the tool itself. You got to go into for example, say James and I want to chat, or Sarah, for example, we could do a video meeting there. Sarah, okay, so where do we go next?
I have to
lightning round.
I'm laughing at some of the Office references in the comments that we've got going here. Last news piece of the day is Instagram is adding a search to video and Reels. So I think it was last week, maybe the week before, we talked about how Reels searches is improving. Now if you want to see other clips, you can actually search by the audio clip instead of clicking on the audio clip within the reel and then seeing all the different reels come up, like the little discover image. I'm doing a puppet show here because I didn't take a screenshot for all of you. But so now the audio is searchable. And I'm not sure if I'm explaining this right. There are some reels, you see it a lot on TikTok too, but Instagram reels, say a comedian or a musician or someone has created a reel and some fun or funny audio to it. You can then use that audio in your own reel. And so now what Instagram is doing is letting you search for that audio within your reel search. So it's kind of fun. It's just, it's showing that Instagram is really doubling down on their search. They're improving their search functionality, but also keeping reels alive, right? And this is just a fun way to engage with those audio clips.
Very cool.
Which I have to say is fun. There's some of the comedic value that are in Instagram reels. You can see what other creators have done with that audio and their own images and video. So it's kind of fun.
Okay, so I want to just take this real quick. I mean, I think that this could be a useful feature. I think that they're doing it obviously for the reels aspect, but I think this also, if for example, if Sarah's using the same music and I'm using the same music and James is using the same music, I'm wondering if like that's going to then get people to want to go and maybe use as a suggestion, like a sort of like a suggested, like, reels or suggested videos to go check out. I suspect they're going to probably do something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you all think? Like, you like this feature? What's your take, James?
Well, short answer, yes. Right. I think the algorithm will learn over time what's most popular and what's most relevant out there across the ecosystem. But think about this. It's funny, right? So you already talked about this. Snapchat has turned into the new photo app.
Yeah.
The Instagram head, the president or whatever of Instagram said a few weeks ago or about a month ago, Instagram is focused on video. It's no longer just that static, I just want to take a pretty picture of a landscape or when I'm out there doing what I'm doing. All of their or a lot of their R&D, a lot of their forward momentum is around video and consumable video in reels. So now add a cool soundtrack using audio, add cool layers and filters and titles and things like that. That's really the focus of where Instagram is going. And it makes sense. And people are gravitating to it because we've already had it on our phones. We already use it. We love the app. We love the app and it just works and it's shareable across multiple platforms. I think these types of iterations make sense because the user community is asking for it, right? As opposed to now me going to TikTok, maybe, right? Now I can just stay on my Instagram where I have probably a bigger following, a bigger community, do all of those exact same things and still be able to share them to Facebook since they're part of the same company. It just makes sense, I think, from a business perspective and then from a usability perspective as well.
Right. And they're probably seeing a lot of people like me. It's like, okay, I've seen the original clip by the original creator. Now let me see what people are doing with it because it's even funnier, right? And so what they've done is they've made it a tab, right? So it's a little easier to search.
I'm gonna start following you on Instagram. You know what? I'm gonna make sure I get Sarah on Instagram. I don't post it, Christian, you probably saw it. I don't post anything fancy. I posted that picture last night. And why? But oh well. What are you gonna do?
Hey, Instagram started as my happy place, and I loved being on Instagram up until I became more of an Instagram trainer and coach, right? And now I have the self-confidence and is this good enough question, right? And so I've just gone back to making Instagram a happy place again. So
might as well. That's what social media is all about. That's I literally had that conversation with my mom 2 days ago. The way she posts on Facebook is insane. And Lord, I hope she's not watching it here. Well, but hey, you know what? Do you, right? Just post all your photos, but maybe clean them up, do a little editing, maybe tag the people that you're talking about. But again, social media is supposed to be fun, and engaging. Right. It turned into something different over the past few years. But again, that's really where we go to escape and to enjoy, have fun, catch up with folks that are far away from us. Christian, you're in Maryland, right? I'm in California. I can't just, walk down the street and see. I'd love to see what you're doing on social media to stay in your world and that kind of thing. Yeah. So I agree with you 100%, Sarah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even starting to see breakfast posts again on Facebook, and I'm kind of thinking, are we doing that again? But, I can't see my friends right now. Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of people have to stay away from each other. And I have my pod, and that's how we're going to stay in touch. Right. I can't eat breakfast with my friend Mary, but okay, she posted it on Facebook, and you
can take a picture of the French toast, right? Hey, check it out.
Look what I did.
I gotta say,
that's fine. Yeah.
So I want to transition into our second act of the show, and that's talking about the aspect of storytelling. So, again, I'm we're talking about like breakfast photos, and we're talking about, again, not being able to necessarily connect with people. So we have to create sort of these hooks, I guess, to get people into, to get them into our world, basically, and so I want to turn over to James, and I think, Sarah, we've got some questions for James, right? About storytelling.
We do. And I will put a little plug in because, the humble folks that I'm talking to today may not mention that they've also talked about this in a podcast called Launch Your Live, which is one of Christian's many content channels here.
Busy guy.
Yeah, he is it's talk about not sleeping, right? So James, when we start lately, what we've been doing is asking the big question first, because we want to hear from you how you define storytelling. So to you, what is storytelling?
Wow. So to boil it down, I guess, from a content creator perspective, right? I'm really looking at it as being able to convey a message, convey emotion, right? Or talk about, a series of events and bring your listener, your viewer, your hearer on that same journey with you, right? Being able to articulate something in very understandable terms. So not talking at people, but talking to people, talking with people, having the ability to disseminate and break down complex terms or items and terminology and things of that nature. So really meeting people where they are. Again, I've said that a couple of times before, but I really like the concept of giving people what they want, right? If they're looking for a message. So conveying messages, conveying emotion. I talk with my hands a lot. I call them the jazz hands. But again, that shows that either I'm engaged or I'm active and I'm focused in the message that's being delivered. And that tends to resonate, right? Because again, looking folks in the eye, showing emotion, inflection in the voice, being able to do all those things unconsciously or consciously as well, really helps, I think, with being able to portray a message. And storytelling really is holding an audience's attention. It's not just creating podcasts. It's not just creating video content. It's sharing messages and maybe even evoking some emotion or some reaction, right? Because if I can tell you something that's compelling, something that's maybe awkward as well, right? Having conversations about social justice, politics, religion, whatever the case may be. Those are conversations that we still need to have, and we should not shy away from them. But being able to bring them into a context to where you see yourself in the message as well. That's a good storytelling mechanism that I tend to try to utilize on a regular basis. So
fantastic. So Sarah, I think we have I'm not sure your audio got muted. Let me unmute you if you're okay.
I did unmute. Okay. I am actually in the comments commenting to some people. I didn't want to hear the clicking and want to have that interfere with what James was saying. So, so with the tools that we're talking about and the news that we're talking about today, right? This fleeting content, where do you see storytelling playing a role in the fleeting content? And maybe I'd expand that to say, how are you archiving or reusing hard work? I mean, stories can be a lot of hard work. They can be a day in the life, but they can also be tutorials. They can be a lot of different things. So with with that said, with these ephemeral tools that we have now, and again, hand gestures are just off camera for me.
Me too. Jazz hands.
How are you telling a story using these tools?
I will focus on what resonates. I will focus on quality versus quantity, right? So we talked about this a little bit earlier as well. You can't be every single place all the time with every single message. You have to be consciously focused on where you're delivering your content, right? So the same stuff that I'm going to put maybe on LinkedIn may not go on a Snapchat, may not go on a TikTok, may not go on Facebook, or if that same message will go, I'll switch it up and be a little bit in terms of different individuals, different in maybe kind of the energy, different in maybe the background. I'm not going to put music in the background of a post that I'm gonna put on LinkedIn, right? It's a whole different type of audience that doesn't want to hear whatever top 40 music in the back of as the soundtrack. That's a Snapchat, that's a TikTok, that's something else, right? So being focused on the audience and the medium of where you're pushing that message. I also like to say, with these temporary tools and mediums, be concise, right? Don't drag it on, right? You're given 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 120 seconds, whatever the case may be. May not use all of that. Right. So again, because we talked about our attention spans are so short nowadays because of social media and because of the internet and because we can get timely relevant or timely access to all these types of informations and pieces of news. If you're given 60 seconds, maybe use 50 seconds, right? Don't use that entire time. Train your mind, train your delivery to be more concise. Cut out filler words, cut out extra statements, but get right to the point is kind of, I guess, what I'm saying. I should get right to the point with this description that I'm saying, but that's what I'm trying to say, right? We got to be more concise with the delivery, especially when you only have a finite amount of time and attention with your audience, and have that call to action somewhere, right? So as you're speaking in that context, in that story, in that reel, or whatever the case may be, somewhere have a call to action to where they can actually go to a more verbose or more detailed context of your messaging as well.
Right. You're almost copy editing yourself, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's doing that, maybe practicing some of those elevator pitch. I hate saying those terms, right? But practicing your pitch and your story so that you erase all of that extra stuff.
Exactly. You can't do it in the first take a lot of times either, right? And that's the challenging part, right? Because again, it looks so great when you finally put it out there, but in reality, folks, it took 5 to 10 takes just to get it right and to get out of your own way, kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. So I think the last question that we have can actually roll into our tool of the week too, because you have this great phrase, the gear acquisition syndrome, right?
Guilty. I'm guilty.
Exactly. Yeah. I know. How many times, it's funny, either backstage or after the shows, Christian is like, Sarah, you need more lights. You need more of these things. So, it's like, okay, how much gear am I going to pack into a bag when I'm traveling so much, right? And it's easy to say, yeah, I can hook up my DSLR to this and I can do this, do that. No, let me get those different earbuds and different this and that. So, I guess, what is your take on all of this about getting past that activation energy that we need to get started and thinking, oh, I need to have this, and this in place?
I like your statement there, the activation energy. See, that sounds a little more fancier than my gas, right? My gear acquisition syndrome. You don't need all of this stuff, folks. It's nice to have. And I think eventually, I know eventually, if you're serious about this content creation journey, you're going to want to get the high-end microphone, the high-end lights, the high-end camera. You're going to want to get all the things. But a lot of times folks will use that as limiting factors, right? And I hate limiting factors. I hate limiting words. And I'm not going to steal that. That's actually from a good friend of mine, Doc Rock, who is a community manager for Ecamm. He came up with the term limiting factors. And I completely agree with it, right? You don't need that. If you've got that $1,000 iPhone in your pocket, use that. You're shooting at 4K. If you got a Samsung Android, you're shooting at 6K. In terms of video, right? So take advantage of the tools that you already have and you utilize on a daily basis. The other stuff will come in time. Just make sure that your content is front of mind, as opposed to worrying about specific pieces of gear, because you'll never catch up. Right, you'll always be chasing the new audio processor. You'll always be chasing the next Stream Deck, the next webcam, or whatever the case may be. You'll never get there. You'll never be satisfied. Look, I've got stuff in my Amazon cart right now that if my wife knew some of the stuff I was trying to buy, I got sliders and gimbals and jibs and stuff. It's crazy talk, right? But again, that doesn't help with the content. That helps with the production. You know, all these fancy lights and stuff right here. Hopefully you're not necessarily looking at all that right now. You're focusing on the delivery of the message that I'm talking about to you right now. So those secondary things help with the production, but they don't help necessarily with the content and delivery of the message. Focus on that piece first, then worry about the gear later.
A great,
Yeah.
love that point. You know, again, like, here's the thing: if it's storytelling as well, you don't need all of the fancy equipment to tell a good story. You just need to, you know what you need? You need good words. So you need to be, you know, you need to use the right wording. You also need to, you know, again, like maybe you have a better mic than the built-in one that you have, but you don't need to go, you know, if you're just starting out, you don't need to go all the way up to the top with the best quality mic or the best quality camera. Love the point about starting with what you have. Because again, I mean, like Sarah, you switched to your phone for your camera, and you know, it's a big difference. And the thing was, you didn't need to go get another camera.
No,
you had the camera right there. You just needed software.
There you go.
So,
exactly.
You know, and so kind of to the point, like just real quick, like the tool of the week we were going to talk about, by the way, it was called Headliner, and it's a free tool all the way up to paid, you know, and it's a tool that, you know, it's free up to paid, so like you can get five videos a month, you know, and then you can upgrade to the $8 a month plan or the $20 a month plan, but again, don't just get it just because like, hey, I want to start doing this.
Just because everyone else is using it. Yeah. No.
Have a plan in place for what you want to do. So for example, if you want to jazz up your, you know, video content that you're doing or create little snippets of things, Headliner, great app to check out.
Yeah.
But start with the free version. Use it for maybe, you know, use it for a week. See how fast you blow through 5 videos. And then consider upgrading, for example, versus going all in on it without really a plan in place, like even knowing if it's going to work or not. So
I agree with you 100%. And Headliner is dope. Look, that's an amazing platform. I know the founder there. I've been following him since some of his early ventures. And again, a lot of content creators starting out, the 5 videos, they're not going to do that in a week anyway. Right. So it's going to take a while for them to even go through the free capabilities. And not everyone needs to upload their content in 1080. You know, it's nice to, right? Like I say, I shoot in 4K and all that, but again, if you're just starting out, you don't have to shoot in 4K or 1080. The 720 that you get with the free version works, right? Facebook doesn't even allow everyone to stream in 1080 as of yet, to be honest with you. So doing audiograms with Headliner, doing video transcription is incredibly huge, right? And again, it's not something that you pay extra for. It's integrated into the platform, allowing you to pull out the autograms, pulling out the transcript, pulling out and making subtitles, making really unique looking audiograms that you can share on Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and all the other places that we've already talked about today. You can do the 9:16, you can do the 1:1, and then the 16:9 aspect ratio. So you can turn a Headliner piece of content into a YouTube clip or highlight. That's what I typically use it for. And then you can turn it into the 9:16, turn it into an Instagram story. Man, look. Check out headliner.app, folks. It's amazing. Yeah. And
for those who haven't, let me just take a step back and add a little more of the basics, because you two are touching on all of it. So really what it's a primary focus is to turn podcasts into video. So yes, audio into video. And shareable video too. So they have all of the templates so that you can have it already optimized for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Snapchat. Strangely, not TikTok, but
probably yeah.
But they do have the 9:16 ratio, which I think is TikTok as well. So, so it gives you a chance to take that audio from from any podcast or Twitter Spaces or whatever it is that you're doing. You can add animations, captions, GIFs, images, and then upload it and share it to other platforms. There's a 2-hour maximum for those videos. And again, you can also do just clips. As you were saying, James, you cut down things because people don't have time to go through the entire replay. This is a great way to cut down into clips too. And last week we talked about Kamua as well as a great way to cut video, but this lets you cut audio.
Yep. Audio and video. And video.
Yeah. So it's a great tool. Christian, I think we have a screenshot of it, don't we?
I think we do. Actually. We have sort of a screenshot. Yeah. This is directly from the Headliner app. So this is the app we're talking about. Again, very useful feature or very useful tool. Again, you could start using this. I mean, start with like some of your audio, for example, if you're a podcaster, or if you're making videos, start with some of your videos. Again, it's not about like the whole aspect is storytelling. So it's about, dripping out content that is engaging enough to where, somebody's then going to want to listen to the whole thing. So, so this tool can definitely help you get there faster.
Right. And maybe your audio can be searchable on Instagram Reels now too.
Maybe.
So we tie it all together in nice little bow.
There it is. I love it. Forward thinking. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're at the end of the show. I just have a couple of quick notes for everyone, by the way. So for starters, we've got an email list. If you want to join our newsletter, go to socialchefs.com/daily, sign up for that. That'll get you on our newsletter so you get notified when we publish the blog post. And speaking of that blog post, it's going to go out over the weekend. That's episode 304, and it'll be available at this URL. All you have to do is go there. And again, if you want to check out last week's, it's SC303. If you want to check out this week's, SC304, that'll get you there to the latest article with all the topics we talked about, the tools, the questions, the information from James, how to get in touch with us and so forth. But for those of you, by the way, who do want to get in touch with James, by the way. So James, I think you want him to reach out to you on YouTube. Is that right?
Pretty much. That's the hub now, right? Again, all the other platforms that I have kind of congregate and end at YouTube for this content creation journey. So yeah, that would be great.
And Sarah, I think you're over on LinkedIn still, right?
Still pushing LinkedIn. Yeah. So find me on LinkedIn. Let me know that you saw this episode or any episode of Social Chatter and you'd like to connect, and I'm happy to connect with you. But I am Sarah Monroe VT across social media. So James, if you want to find me on Instagram, same handle.
Done.
Fantastic. And I'm Christian Karsevich, and we're at Social Chefs for all of our branded content. But with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in for Social Chatter episode 304, where we talked about TikTok stories. We talked about Twitter rolling out, Spaces updates, such as co-hosting and raising your hand. They seem like minor features, but guess what? They're going to be huge features for you as a business if you decide you want to go the audio route and build your presence on Twitter and much more. But just a quick reminder, we're going to have Chelsea Pites join us next Thursday, a little bit later at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/social chefs or facebook.com/social chefs. Hope to see you all there. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
You guys be good.